Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Pro Wrestling Logic channel and the All American Wrestling series continued. This is the April 26th edition of 1980, and we've got the rest of 80 and almost all of 81 and some of 82 to cover. We've got in total, about another 70 episodes, so we'll probably end up around 110, 120 before we're moving on to something different. This is hosted, of course, by Vince McMahon, Bruno Sammartino, including championship tag team champions Ivan Putski, Tito Santana versus the Wild Samoans title change from the 12th of April at the Philadelphia Spectrum show, shown in full with McMahon taping new commentary for the match, including Sammartino conducting a ringside interview with the Intercontinental Champion Pat Patterson, who discussed wanting to find a regular tag team partner. The idea of it being Andre the Giant is discussed once again, as it was the previous week. However, obviously that doesn't come together. The Samoans winning the tag team championship is a delight for none other than, of course, the nature of Captain Lou Albano, their manager, and of course the major towns, Boston, Philly, Baltimore, and New York, your main places for title changes to take place. Tito takes over on one of the Samoans early. They work over the leg for the first several minutes. Again, the match runs probably about 10 to 15 minutes. Sammartino steps over, tries to get a spinning toe hold on Sika for several minutes, basically working the leg the entire time, taking down and getting things from spinning toe holds or modified, and then also wrenching on the leg, almost stepping over into a modified STF position without hooking the STF into position. The champions cut the ring off quite successfully, and Santana works the leg as well. Santana eventually goes towards the idea of a figure four, but never fully locks it in, at least during the early stages of the match. Then we see Afa and Sika kind of trying to clean house. Champions also cut the ring off on the challengers. Actually, the champions take the majority of the winning for the first probably 5-6 minutes of the match. However, tag off too. Afa leads to headbutts on Putski. Putski gets cut off. There is a top rope move attempt here by the champions at around the 10-minute mark in the program that doesn't go according to plan. Also, the Samoans, Tito Santana looks very unsteady on the top rope and actually looks like he's about to fall off. If you've ever wanted to see a guy look awkward coming off a flying body press, probably worth checking that out. Tito manages to botch his knee on the flying body press, does not get him where he needs to be. Also, we kind of see a bit of cutoff, and ultimately we see the Samoans get a bit of a, I wouldn't say a cheating victory, but they do manage to get the victory after the missed cross body. Then we go back to the main arena, and obviously having new tag team champions is a pretty big deal. That's probably why Vince Kennedy McMahon does the commentary for the match, not liking Dick Graham or whoever was covering the Philly Spectrum on that particular occasion. Then we move back to the main arena. This leads to Pedro Morales defeating Johnny Ross via submission, Boston Crab 639. Once again, as mentioned in the previous week, I'm not necessarily sure why Pedro comes back here as much as he does. I think he had done the NWF thing or other territories at the time. He certainly was a big deal in the 60s and 70s in LA, but doesn't really, still over with the Philly and New York crowds, Pennsylvania crowd, but at the same time, not a guy that I ever really understood the full impact of as a champion, of course, outside of my range, and also late 60s, early 70s, hard to come by. Pedro does a bunch of takedowns, tries to shoot halves on his opponent, doesn't get all he wants. Rods comes up and does a little bit of brawling. Obviously, brawling is where Pedro thrives. He tosses his man to the outside, does not get nearly all he wants on him, but Rivera manages punch kick and getting a takeover on Rods for a little bit, but Rods manages to use heel tactics, the bottom of the boot and other such things, on Pedro for several minutes. Pedro kind of ducks and dodges a little bit with his offense for a little while. Doesn't get nearly all he wants on it. Does get enough though, and we see that in fact Pedro Morales gets the victory with the Boston Crab, as pre-mentioned. Then we see an interview with Pat Patterson talking about being the Intercontinental Champion, having taking more damage as a singles champion, also wanting to find a regular tag team partner. I don't know that the regular tag team partner ever really happens for him, and again talking about wanting to team with Andre, but it not being a functional option for the differences in their schedule. Then we go to yet another match. This time Pat Patterson is in action. Pat Patterson defeats Frank Williams via submission with a stump Fuller 851. Patterson's not introduced as the Intercontinental Champion, nor does he bring the belt with him, which means he must have lost it very much around this time. Maybe it's a continuity thing. Odd that he doesn't bring the championship to television. Takes Williams down with front face locks, kind of rides the ropes a little bit, and Patterson manages to do everything he can to keep control for a little while. Takedowns by Patterson. Patterson kind of stays in control for a bit. Goes for quick covers, doesn't get all he wants on that. They come back to squaring off. Williams willing to cheat and take advantage where he can. Patterson kind of takes him to the outside of the ring where he can. Also kind of takes him down on and shoots the half on the legs, and ultimately kind of tries to get a leg submission, maybe a great leg grapevine or something like that. Kind of a reverse chin lock and some choking attempted by Williams. Williams doesn't get all he wants on that. Does get enough to make Patterson a little bit angry, but not enough to really finish him off. But he does obviously win with the stump puller, does Patterson, and there we go from there. We move to the next match in the series. This is Rene Goulet and Jose Estrada. Goulet is a former tag team champion in the area, managing to win with the small package of 503. Goulet, more tag team champion in the early 70s, and not really finding his full stride here in 1980, but manages to do so. He's most notable for average fans or later 80s fans as an office guy. Heel takes over on Goulet. Goulet is the babyface at the time. Takes a bunch of kicks and punches and really basic maneuvers. Chin locks and the like, and the heel takes the majority of the match here. Stays on the arm and tries to get submissions there. Goulet, though, does out-wrestle him and eventually, as mentioned, take the small package victory, and he is happy with that maneuver. Then we move to kind of the final match of the day. They've got about less than 5 minutes remaining for this particular foray into Pro Wrestling Wonderment, and this is the El Olímpico defeating Mark Pole 302 with a dropkick. El Olímpico, I guess their idea to try and get some of the buzz of Mil Mascaras without having to deal with the challenges of Mascaras. I don't know that much about El Olímpico at this time. It's a name I've seen around, and he's been around, but not treated as a major star here. Pole, punches, short jabs, that kind of thing. Olímpico grabs the beard and eventually wins with a drop kick, and Olímpico closes the show out with a win for the Masked Superstar. We will move forward in our foray, and we'll be back with more right after this.